Hello, creatives. Welcome to today's Designer Talk. I'm Linda Abbott, Senior Architectural Design Consultant with Stone Hardscapes. I've been in the natural stone industry now for over 20 years, and I absolutely love partaking in creating beautiful design concepts that come to fruition. And today is one of those days where I get to do a project spotlight on the beautiful, luxurious apartment complex, Riverstone, Palm Beach. So today's project spotlight is on Riverstone, Palm Beach, and I'm joined with Ruby from Insight Studio. You've been with Insight Studio design firm for several years now, started in 2019. You got your landscape architect degree in Connecticut.
Correct.
And you've done work in Connecticut, New York, as well as now Florida, where we are joined to talk about this beautiful project, Riverstone, Palm Beach, which was very unique in its design concept.
Yeah, very happy to be here. Thanks for the invite. And yeah, looking forward to having this conversation with you.
That's awesome. So let's get started. If you could briefly introduce this resort-style condo project and your role in the design process, I'd love to get your take on it.
Sure. So Riverstone Palm Beach is a luxury residential development in West Palm that was designed to offer the residents a resort-style lifestyle, really. The central amenity courtyard behind us is the heart of the outdoor living space. So as the landscape architects, we were responsible with creating the vision for the outdoor environment here. So my role personally encompassed everything from conceptual design to material selection, construction documentation, spatial organization, and construction administration to make sure everything gets implemented appropriately.
And I know you and I worked hand in hand on this project with the natural stone part of it.
Correct.
What was your vision when you were bringing in natural stone and choosing the selections for it?
So the vision for this project was to create a seamless integration between the architecture and the landscape in order to give form to a natural feeling oasis. We wanted to make it feel like it was kind of carved out by its surroundings, like it belongs in the place where it's at. So in order to do this, we had to emphasize forms, we had to emphasize plantings, and we had to emphasize materials that reinforce the organic nature of the outdoor space. We're surrounded by 90-foot walls on all sides in this courtyard, so it's very important to scale the building down and to soften up the structure through use of our material palettes. And natural stone was a key element in this vision that I believe brought a certain level of authenticity and even permanence to the design.
That's awesome. So when you selected natural stone, how did you incorporate the other elements into the design to pull it all together, whether it's porcelain or wood, and the different things that you added to the space?
Well, it was a little bit of, it's about the balancing and the layering of the different elements. It was kind of a harmony between the design overall. It's a harmony between high end as well as we want to make it look organic and natural. So using the tactile contrast between the smoother hard surfaces, the soft tropical plant palette. The goal here was to bring all these elements together cohesively to create kind of the feeling of a natural inviting ambiance that also feels luxurious and high end.
And I definitely think you accomplished that.
Thank you.
Looks amazing.
Thank you.
Ruby, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about material selection and your design philosophy for this project. And I'd like to know what factors influence your decision to specify natural stone materials throughout this project.
Well, first and foremost, we wanted authenticity, right? So we're in the Palm Beach Riverstone, after all, right? So it's a name that conveys some type of connection to the landscape. I think natural stone has a richness about it and just natural qualities that I think capitalizes on that theme. Additionally, the durability is ideal for the nature of the space. So we wanted to use, textural, like I mentioned, dialogues between rough and smooth and natural and refined in order to create an environment that feels high-end yet very organic and very natural. So.
And one of the things that's super important as a landscape architect is that you have to make sure that it's slip resistant.
Correct.
So we can't obviously put materials on a pool deck.
Yeah.
That would be an issue when the clients step out into the pool deck and slip and fall. We don't want that to happen. So we have to make sure that we're selecting the most appropriate type of stone for the application, right? So this is a very unique design concept where the center of this entire community is that amenity and pool deck, where every tenant is able to see this amenity deck from their units. Yes.
And we're in Florida. It rains a lot, and when it does, it's a lot of rain. So the finish was very important. Safety is always, the primary concern in design projects like this. So specifically the sandblast finish, we were able to maintain that safety. It's a safe product while still you take your shoes off and you walk on concrete pavers versus stone pavers. You're going to feel the difference. So again, the authenticity of feeling like we're providing what feels like it belongs there.
Yes, agree. And one of the things that I love about natural stone is you never have to worry about walking on it barefoot because it always stays cool to the touch.
Correct.
And I know as a landscape architect, that's one of the things that you look at, the overall design concept and the functionality, not only the beauty, but the function of that type of material that you're putting on your amenity decks.
Yeah, another very important aspect of it, the color, reflective index, to make sure that we're not retaining heat and we're creating a comfortable environment.
It's looking amazing. How long has the project been up and running now?
I think about a year and a half. It's finished construction about a year. It's been up and running a little bit longer than that. So I've been tempted to look for my own unit over here for a while now, but I don't want to move further away from work. So
yeah, I get it. I totally get it. So Ruby, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about was the aesthetics and the aesthetic impact and the user's experience, so the guest experience when they're walking around the pool deck. One of the things that you did, and I don't know if you remember this or not, but we decided on a natural stone ledgestone to complement the pavers. And you took that ledgestone and instead of putting it on a horizontal, which typically ledgestone is put on a horizontal, 6-inch by 24-inch panel is put on a horizontal, you chose to do it on a vertical plane instead. And that created that modern feel and really added a unique design concept that wasn't the same as what everybody else does.
It's interesting application, of the veneer that creates, I think, a little bit more depth, because in congruence with laying the tile vertically, we're also underlighting a lot of the copings, we're underlighting a lot of the bar tops, so it deepens. Like now the lighting is kind of, as opposed to going perpendicular to the texture, it's now going parallel with it, so it kind of deepens the textures. It adds a little bit more depth. So the area behind us with the big trees got the vertical application, and that's got a seat wall that's got the coping with the lighting, and it just completely changes the space at night. So it's very interesting detail.
Yeah, night or day. I mean, it really creates a unique design concept. And also you did it at the bar area where the outdoor pool bar is. And all along the outside of that, you also put it on a vertical. And it really changes the look, and it changes the way that the space looks and the way people see it.
Yeah.
It changes the whole look of things.
Yeah, I think it brings the aspect ratio a little bit more to the vertical, where we have the pavilion cabana. It is a covered space. It is something of an intimate space, but it feels like it elevates the roof up a little bit more, and you have a little bit more room. It's a pavilion that's basically cut in half with a TV lounge on one end and the bar, outdoor kitchen, and the oversized bar on the other end. So I think it complements the spaces very well. It complements the texture and the color on the stone very well. as well as the back panel that we chose for the backsplash on the wall. It's got this kind of wood look to it. So I think overall it does a great job. The ledge stone in combination with the marble pavers and bringing all the materials and the
I
colors
noticed
together.
you also added a splash of blue on the countertops.
Yes, so that's, if you look around in the interior, that is a theme that was kind of carried throughout the interior. So in an effort to try to bring the indoor to the outdoor and add a little bit of, continuing that theme, we brought that highlight to the exterior as well.
Well, it definitely created a seamless transition from interior to exterior, so that turned out amazing.
It feels really cool. It's like a jewel,
Right?
a jewel on a bracelet.
Right. What about the coping of the pool? We chose to use the same material as the pavers and utilize that as the coping. And I remember, and I don't know if you do, the installer called me actually saying how difficult it was to install it because it wasn't your typical geometrical shape and it had curvature. Even though you created a very modern resort style pool, it wasn't your typical geometric shape. So they had to hand cut each piece to create that curvature around the pool.
So that, honestly, the beauty in that is the installer, the people that are working with the product. So installation is always a challenge, especially when we're doing something that's kind of out of the ordinary. So in a scenario like that, having the right person for the job and the proper detailing and the proper directions on the plans, obviously, it's the biggest, most important thing. They had to kind of work in field to figure that out. They did, and it looks great. It looks seamless because of that. I'm very happy that we chose to do that as opposed to opt out for a different coping that would have clashed or stood out against the pavers. And they did the same thing on the boardwalk, because the boardwalk is also a radius and it's got porcelain, which is harder to get those tight angled cuts on. But the installer did an amazing job. Every single joint is perfect. Everything, transitions are seamless. The connections are perfect. So it's all in the hands of who's laying that stuff out there. It's only as good as the installer, really.
Absolutely. And the project actually, with the coping and the way that it looks on the deck, everything turned out. It actually creates a very sexy vibe, a very modern sexy vibe is what I get from it.
Yeah, it's a lot of curves. And it wants to be refined. It wants to feel high-end. It wants to feel luxurious, but it's the Riverstone. So we want to give this connection that it is natural. It is organic. It is like there is, something growing out of the earth that's kind of cutting its way through the courtyard space.
And it does just that. It's center stage and it's absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
One of the most interesting features that I found was that we used the Bianca Biacella Extreme Grip pavers. And with that, you created a beautiful design concept that led into all of the residences on the bottom floor, obviously, using large format pieces of the Bianca Biacella Extreme Grip as stepping stones leading up to the residences. I thought they turned out magnificent because of the look and the way that it's right behind me, so I keep looking back, sorry. But it's just striking the way that the stepping stones, the way that they laid out and how great it turned out. And I wanted your feedback on that and what made you come to the decision to use these large format stones as the design going into the residences.
Well, we love the material and we want to maintain a level of uniformity. And, like I said, this is an act of kind of bringing the indoor-outdoor. We have a selection of private units that directly face the amenity deck and have direct access to it. So one of the design ideas for the overall concept was to create this perimeter walkway around the pool area that links to every single private unit. So this would be a secondary path, more of like a garden path. So in order to make it a little bit more informal, a little bit more secondary in hierarchy to the main walkway areas, we implemented some strategies like bringing in, continuing to play on the natural theme, bringing in the pebble stones and the river rock lining the edges of the planting areas. And then where we do connect to the private units was the perfect opportunity. We need to have some kind of walkway, but it has to be broken up. It has to have some informality to it. Doesn't compete with the rest of the design to in the same level of importance, I guess. So we broke up the stepping stones, and then the challenge is we have the French pattern, which is a beautiful pattern, but once you start to try to limit it in a specific perimeter, you're going to end up with weird cuts and weird joint lines that don't line up. So working with you guys to get like big oversized pieces to completely take up that space was integral, I think, to maintain the design intent for those areas, and that way we didn't have to sacrifice any of the finishes, and then also getting with the installer and making sure like all those stepping stones have to have the proper base to make sure they don't shift around, because having the stone and then pebbles that are wrapping around it to continue to soften up that space, like everything moves.
Right.
in the earth. So we want to make sure that everything is stabilized and everything is it's on a good base. So it again feels really rigid and stable, but still gives you the impression that like, oh, this is a soft secondary path that connects to somebody's private balcony. So,
but it wasn't just straight stepping stones. The way that you guys designed it was very unique because you put it on a curve, and you took that from the pool deck and the pool and the idea of having curvature, and you took that into the space of the stepping stones and created that, which really is a great design concept because it made the space even more unique and more different than the average stepping stone look.
Right. Well, to keep the importance of maintaining the uniformity in the design, I think that was a big inspiration, obviously, from the shape of the pool, from the way that the boardwalk wraps around the pool. Everything meanders. The walkways around the perimeter that connect to the units, all those meanders. So it feels only right that the stepping stone connections also, we need to fit those shapes in order to make those also continue that theme.
I agree. It turned out magnificent. So with all that said, what in your mind is the most striking part of this amenity deck?
I think for me, like the layered experience that you get from all the finishes is probably the biggest payoff that we got from it. So going from the smooth look in the marble with a little bit of range in the veining that you have in the marble, in contrast with the ledge stone, adding a little bit more depth and texture. Also, in contrast with the warmth of the wood porcelain boardwalk, and then having all the tropical plants in the background to soften up all those hardscape elements, I think was like the perfect combination of just design elements to give the impression of what we wanted, to create. And that's, again, a highly refined, very luxurious feel that belongs in nature, feels like it's in tune with the surrounding environment.
And the crazy thing about all this is it's affordable.
Yes.
Nobody thinks that they can put natural stone on a multifamily unit type community and be able to afford it.
Yeah.
The developers,
That was
the installers, they were all like, how is this like on budget still?
It was very impressive. We actually had another client that we were working on doing a condominium high-rise in West Palm, and we brought him down just before they opened up to kind of show him the finishes and the plants and kind of how we did everything. And he was absolutely amazed that this is a multifamily apartment building, and he's looking at these extremely high-end finishes, and he's like, well, how are they doing this? Like,
how do they make it work?
Like, it feels like I'm walking through a condominium right now. Like,
so one of the myths is that natural stone is too expensive or out of the budget or out of range, and that's most people's concept because of how beautiful and luxurious it looks.
Right.
But it's extremely affordable. So if more people understood that, I think more people would be doing designs like this and putting in natural stone on their amenity decks, because it's a great feature. One that never fades from sun exposure. I mean, what material doesn't fade from sun exposure? Natural stone is really the only thing.
Yeah. Well, I agree. I think it's always a shock. We've had residential clients where we propose marble or we propose one of your natural stones for their driveway, and their immediate response is like, "What? We're not driving on marble."
We can't afford that.
Exactly. And then we get you involved, and you give them the pricing, and they're like, "Oh, well, this isn't really all that bad. Like, it's not what they expected." So it does sound like a luxury that a lot of people feel like maybe they can't afford, but in comparison, like porcelain's expensive. There's a lot of concrete pavers that are very expensive. And I think you get a lot more payoff from the natural stone, for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I love natural stone. I love the other materials that we offer as well, but natural stone always stands out at the top of the list for me. It always has. So with that, what would you say, you network a lot, you meet with a lot of other landscape architects as well. What would you say to another landscape architect who's working on a project that what would you recommend to them after doing a project like this? What would you recommend to them?
To be intentional with the material selection. I've worked on projects before where we kind of let contractor or other consultants or even the client kind of push us
designers,
over. Yeah,
the interior design
kind of
team.
push us over on material selection. But I think, as experts in the outdoor environment, it's on us to kind of like have the knowledge really of what works and what doesn't, and be able to sell that idea and convince other consultants of that. Even I've worked with architects that even they were shocked at not only pricing but the look of the marble that we've used, and I've given them your contact for even building material like siding for architectural structures and stuff. So I think it's just not that many people have a lot of exposure with those kind of external products. So definitely be intentional with it. Definitely follow along also, during the construction administration of it. Keep your manufacturer involved all along the way to make sure that everything goes as planned.
Smoothly.
Yeah. And in our case, we selected, I think, the perfect product for the design. So of course, make sure that your selection complements the design vision as well as maintains whatever the function and the meaning of the space is designed to be.
Beautifully said. Ruby, thank you so much for joining me today for this Designer Talk. It was a pleasure speaking with you and getting to see this beautiful project firsthand. And I look forward to coming back 10, 20 years from now and seeing how beautiful it still looks.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm looking forward to many other projects to work on with you, and hopefully we do many more of these.
I'm sure we will. I appreciate you joining me for today's Designer Talk. It was a great experience getting the opportunity to do a project spotlight on Riverstone, Palm Beach. If you have any projects that you'd like to go over with us, we'd love to hear from you. You could reach out to myself or Insight Studio at any time. Until next time, stay healthy and stay creative.